y'all probably remember from past for the good of the orders about Moses and the meeting tent. And see, I have my handy notes up here, which is kind of a new exciting thing. I can even read them without having to fumble with my Bible. This is a moment where it says, Moses went up on the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled, and the cloud covered the tent for 6 days. Now, we all seen this a million times, and y'all know what this thing is, right? What this cloud is?
The glory cloud.
It's the Shekinah.
Shekinah glory.
All right. This is the Shekinah cloud, and it covers, it overshadows the meeting tent. And usually we call it the tent, or if we are thinking in Latin, we call it the tabernacle. There. And of course, the Shekinah cloud overshadows. Now, Shekinah is the Hebrew word that means to settle. Because remember, at this stage in their career, the Israelites were wandering around in the desert. And they wandered around at God's instruction, where God would move the cloud, and they would all pack up and follow the cloud. And then when the cloud settled, then they would settle too. And they would set up the tent underneath the Shekinah cloud. Now, because they're nomadic people, the verb to settle is how they would say to dwell in English. In other words, in English we say, the Lord, it would be like saying, the Lord dwelled here, because what they hear is because he settled here. And even in English they say a settler is someone who stops moving and they begin to dwell at the point that they have settled. Now, thematically, this is kind of an interesting Hebrew word, and I want to talk a little bit about how Hebrew words go together, because sometimes the relationship between one Hebrew word and another is significant for theological or biblical reasons, but we don't notice because our words don't go together that way. And this is a word, when I had a bunch of Turkish friends and learned to speak a little bit of Turkish, and I don't remember why I learned this word, but this word in Turkish, kitap, it means book. Okay, now, I'm taking this P off, because from now on we're going to talk about it in Arabic. It's actually an Arabic word that the Turks borrowed. They have thousands of Arabic words in Turkish, but they also have a lot of Turkish words too, and it gets to be kind of fun to say, ooh, now that's an Arabic word and that's a Turkish word. In regular Arabic, they call a book a kitab. And at one point when I was in Turkey, I saw this word, katib. And I thought, I wonder if that has something to do with book. And so I asked my Turkish friend, says, is katib related to kitab? And he thought about it for a minute, and I don't think he really thought about it before. He said, yeah, katib means a writer, an author. And I said, oh, isn't this kind of cool? What this is pointing to is that in Semitic languages, and that means Hebrew and Arabic both, they have what are called triliteral Semitic roots. And in this case, the root is K-T-B. I should be saying katib to make it Arabic. And they have a whole lot of words that flow from this triliteral root that have to do with writing, but it expands out pretty rapidly. And I wrote some of them up here. Let's see the word. Okay, kitab is book. Katib is author. Katab is a clerk, because a clerk is able to write. Maktab is a desk or an office. And even in Hebrew, the word ketubah is a wedding contract. And what this particular word is interesting, which I mentioned, is maktab. I'm going to do it this way. You see, there's the 3 letters. And then there's this interesting prefix on the front of it, which shows up in some other words, which y'all probably aware of. For example, let's take this word. Jihad comes from a J-H-D triliteral root, and almost all the words that come from that have to do with struggling and fighting and so forth. Now, if you have jihad means to struggle, then what do you call the struggler, the person who struggles, the person who fights is called what?
Jihadist.
No, in Arabic, y'all know this. I swear. Look. Mujihad is the person who jihads. It means the doer, either the doer of the action or the receiver of an action. So mujihad is the person that does it. And if you have more than one of them, you have an ayah which makes it plural. You say mujihadin. That means the strugglers. That's how it goes together. So when you have the ma, that m prefix, in front of kitab, it's saying the one that does the book, or the one that makes the book, or in the case of jihad, the one who does the struggle.
The mujahideen in Afghanistan, when the Russians were there,
yeah,
that's who was fighting.
Yeah, and it's like literally saying the fighters.
Yeah.
Like one is a mujihad, and in fact it's the same thing like in Muhammad's name, Muhammad, and of course the root is HMD, which means bless, to bless, and Muhammad means the blessed one or the praised one. Anyway, believe it or not, that's going to get us back to Shekinah momentarily. Now, there's another nice little root that everybody knows. This one, y'all might even be able to guess what sort of Arabic or Hebrew word comes from that SLM root.
Salam.
Yes, genius. And what does salam mean?
Hello.
Hello.
It means peace, actually.
Peace.
Yeah,
Shalom.
Salam. And remember, so
I
we
wish
have
they'd get
this
some of that over
word,
there.
salim. Salam means peace. Salim means more or less submit. So can you tell me what you would call a submitter? One who submits is a Muslim. Yeah, a Muslim is one who surrenders. And there's this famous saying that Muhammad got credit for. It's kind of cool because it doesn't always just mean submit. Sometimes it means peace. Sometimes it means submit or surrender. And it also means to be safe, which is kind of interesting. And there's this famous saying that Muhammad used to say to people, or like his greeting, or he would communicate with other nationalities or kings or something. And he would say, I always forget what it is. He says, Aslim Taslam. Aslim is one, comes out of the same root. Aslim means to submit, and Taslam means to be safe. And what Muhammad is saying is, submit to the will of God, become a Muslim, and Taslam, you will be safe. And this also shows up in the name of this city. I can't write it all. Did I see where I put the eraser? There it is. In this case, we have this city, Jerusalem, and there's a lot of debate about what that Yeru means. Some people think it has to do with the Jebusites, and that the Jebusites were the original inhabitants, and King David conquered Jerusalem from them and took it out. Anyway, but generally and sometimes it's understood as being God's name, as in like Yehu, the first part of God's name, Yehu Salim, the peace of God. But this is always generally understood as being Salim, being peace. But I think actually that it has more to do with the sense of safety or security, because Jerusalem was up on top of a mountain and it had a spring so it could keep itself supplied with water, and it was a walled city and very, very difficult to conquer. So I think it's more like saying either the security, the safety of the Jebusites, or God's security or something like that. Anyway, now that brings us all the way back to Shekinah, which is another Semitic triliteral root. It's a and sometimes this might be pronounced as a regular S, but usually it's sh. And so we get Shekinah, which is to say it's the stop, the settling. And the tent, or the tabernacle, see, for us, a tent or a tabernacle, it's defining this as a container, which is one thing, but what this object is called in Hebrew is a mishkan. And you see, we have the triliteral root, the sh, k, and then we have the m prefix. So it means that this is the settler, the thing that settles. This is where the cloud says settle here, and then this place settles. So that's understood to be the word for tent, the way it's used in the Old Testament. But what it's really talking about is this is where we settle. And Scripture is full of occasions where when things settle or they dwell, it means they stop moving in there, and like they put down roots. And it's kind of fascinating about how important the whole idea for Israelites was, that you wander and you don't have a home, and your home becomes the point where you stop. It's just kind of sweet. Anyway, this is all part. I'll be elaborating on this tomorrow night as an overall hour talk about overshadowing, which y'all already heard me yak about overshadowing over there. And that's probably enough for tonight. So thanks for watching.